package of pretzels and nibbled on them as she swung back and forth in her chair, staring at that stupid rainbow wheel. She could be at home on the couch eating ice cream. She could be having drinks with her brother. She could be at the gym sweating her ass off in the treadmill while watching the Real Housewives of Atlanta reruns. But instead, she sat at her desk, munching on stale pretzels and staring at work she should have given to one of her employees. Her dedication and work ethic were how she moved through the ranks of this male-dominated industry. Marley kept rigid control of her work and that of her staff, and sometimes that meant doing a bulk of it herself. It was exhausting, but she loved her job, and she was damn proud of herself. So this was the way it was. She'd made her bed, and now she had to lay in it. She was alone, but at least she had 1,800 thread count sheets. Her phone beeped a text. She leaned over and glanced at the display. Chad. It was like he knew. "Come to Bubba's," the text said. She typed back, "I told you I won't ingest anything from a place named Bubba's." Snob. Degenerate. Princess. Peasant. She smiled as she waited for the next text. Nothing like sibling banter to bring her mood up. "You still at work?" "You know it." "You need a hobby." "You need a job." She cringed, because that last text of hers had been a little low. "I'm working on it," the next text said. "I love you," she typed. "I love you too." Marley placed her phone beside her keyboard as a shadow fell over the desk. She sucked in a breath, prepared to hold it or breathe through her mouth for the next half hour or so to endure cheese stink Abraham. But with that deep breath, she inhaled a clean, delicious scent with just a hint of something spicy and definitely masculine. A khaki-clad hip leaned on her desk, and she looked up. There was no cheap-patterned tie or comb-over or anything libido-killing like that. Nope, it was him. The man she'd nicknamed DB for dark and brooding. Her fatigued brain whirred to life. What was he doing here? Next to her? She didn't think he worked for the IT department. She'd always assumed he worked for one of the other businesses in the industrial complex where gamers' offices were located. In fact, maybe he should have been GDB for gorgeous, dark, and brooding. He had to be out of a video game because surely a man who looked like that could only be imaginary. She muffled a snort at her own lame line. He stood with his arms crossed over his broad chest, the sleeves of his button-down chambray shirt rolled up to his elbows, revealing veined forearms. He wore no tie, and the top couple buttons were undone, so she caught a hint of a V-neck white undershirt and a tantalizing peek at the valley between his pectorals. She didn't let her gaze drop any further because his pelvis was in front of her face as she sat at her desk. No way would she be caught staring at his khaki-covered package. Okay, one peek. Her mouth watered. She jerked her eyes back up to his face and thought she might have to go to Bubba's anyway, get really drunk, and then maybe laid, because this was ridiculous. She cleared her throat. Are you here for me?" His face showed nothing. No twitch of those full lips, just an impassive mask. She resisted, squirming under his gaze. To help me with my computer? Or to help me with my orgasm? She thought. A nod to her spoken question, unfortunately. He had short, dark hair and a prominent brow that threw his eyes into shadow from the overhead light. He tilted his head, and she got the first glimpse of his eyes. They were an incredible blue-green color. She stared at him a minute and then shook herself, turning away from his gaze. And fuck, that was hard to do, like she was swimming against the current. She waved a hand at her monitor. "So my computer froze, and I'm not sure why, and I need to get back to my layout because," she blushed, "I didn't save it before my computer froze." She stared at her screen, eyeing his hip in her peripheral vision. He didn't move. "So, yeah," she continued, "all I have is this stupid spinning rainbow beach ball." She jerked her head up to look at him, and it was a relief to float along in his gaze rather than fight to swim away. This was the first time she'd ever heard him speak, and his voice was low and soft. Excuse me?" Those beautiful eyes flicked to her screen.